Hey everyone, welcome to the Modern Merchant Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Merrier, CEO of Flxpoint. Today I've got Vlad and Dan of Compose. Guys, thanks for making it today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Well, if you guys want, I'd love to just start off, tell the audience a little bit about Compose, who you guys are, quick background if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm Vlad. I'm the co-founder and managing partner at Compose.
Dan, co-founder, managing partner.
Compose is a product development agency focused on the e-commerce, insurance, and healthcare space. We've been around for close to 3 years now. We're currently sitting in our office here in Sarasota, Florida. Our second office is in Belgrade, Serbia, overseas in Europe. And yeah, excited to be here.
Awesome. So you mentioned a couple of industries. Talking about your kind of customers, who is your typical customer in those industries? What are they typically looking for?
Yeah, so over the past 2.5 years, we've worked with companies from startups all the way to enterprise. Our focus at the moment is in the SMB sector. We're looking to work with and partner with companies that are embarking on that digital transformation process or already have a set of digital offerings that they need help with. And we essentially are an augmented product team to their organization on a C-suite level. We become their thought partners, and then on the lower levels, we execute on the product roadmap, innovation initiatives, and any other technical needs and requirements that the organizations require.
Awesome. And the interesting part there was you kind of called out the SMB sector. I've been doing this like building in public series, and it's kind of fresh on my mind where we've been talking about how we kind of went up market, went full enterprise, like committed to that for a year, realized that's not truly who we are, that we, our heart and our roots are in SMB, but still kind of like, closing enterprise when they show up, but not really kind of committing fully to that go-to-market process in general. I'm curious on your guys' journey and just, the focus on SMB, kind of what's the story behind that?
I think similarly to you, it's kind of what comes natural to us. When Dan and I first started the company, we really looked at who we are as people and the things that come natural to us, things that are important to us. And the one thing that kind of like stood out was partnership. And, based on our experience, it's easier, and it's also better for us because it has a higher impact to partner with small and mid-market companies where our impact is significant, where our impact is felt on both sides, and where we can really contribute value in a meaningful way and build strong relationships along the way.
Yeah, and they can typically make decisions and move faster at the SMB level, and we consider ourselves to be fast and nimble compared to some of the larger agencies and organizations out there. So the impact that we can make on both sides, like Vlad said, is immediate and fast. Whereas there's a lot of red tape and politics when you get to the higher revenue levels.
Yeah, no doubt. The impact is a big part of it. I mean, just being able to feel like you've really helped someone else's business grow in a way, and you're a major contributor to it. I can definitely get that. And yeah, the red tape. I mean, just moving at that pace, being small business owners like we are, right? It's just not natural to us to move in such a slow and choppy way, right? Where like you live and die by the big deal, and maybe it comes in, maybe it doesn't. Where SMB, there's so many of them, they move quick that you can kind of build this repeatable, scalable customer acquisition process. So awesome. No, it makes sense. As far as your guys' model, right, everyone's familiar with kind of building applications and software, and there's a lot of companies out there that do it. You guys talked about a couple different industries, but how do you differentiate? How do you go to market and say, well, I'm talking with another company that sounds similar to you? Curious on how you guys differentiate in the market.
I think the experience that we bring to the table is a major differentiator within the SMB space. We also bring a certain level of enterprise level rigor to our SMB clients, which creates a structure that they don't have in place yet, but still allows them to move at the speed that they need to be moving at. That thought partnership that I that I mentioned earlier, I think Compose is really, really good at partnering with clients, understanding their needs, and also helping them identify, additional opportunities along the way. So yeah, I mean, it's, as you know, it's a very crowded marketplace. It's difficult to stand out. I think from a, DTC and e-commerce perspective, big differentiator for us is obviously that we're not just focused on the e-com space. We also do a lot of work in insurance and healthcare, and have worked in close to 15 industries over the past 2 years. So, we bring the cross-functional experience to the table that allows us to, drive competitive advantages for our customers.
Well, yeah, and you're always, at least like it seems like from me, from what you guys kind of, we talked about, was it like a couple weeks ago, you're kind of trying to get creative and productize and put the right kind of pieces together to offer something new that's not just like custom built apps every single time, right? To actually kind of double down on what you see being a gap. So, I know you guys, we walked through a presentation a couple weeks ago, maybe almost like 2 months ago now, but you talked about like a new kind of venture, a new application, a new kind of project and approach to how you guys are delivering apps. So I'd love for you guys to maybe cue in the audience on that. I thought it was a really interesting approach. So I don't want to give anything away. I kind of let you guys explain it. So if you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, approach is probably the right word for it. We've tinkered with the word product on this, but really it's approach and a framework. Yeah. I specifically have been delivering e-commerce sites for brands for the past 15 plus years. So creating something that's repeatable is really important to me and important to us. So, like you had said, chasing after new deals in the enterprise space and focusing, that's been our goal, is how do we focus and how do we create recurring revenue, and without having to just chase the deal on a daily basis. Yeah. So creating this repeatable e-commerce application and process has been something that we've been focused on for the past probably close to a year. We finally launched recently. We utilized Flxpoint for order routing. And we've created essentially a fully repeatable, scalable, multi-tenant e-commerce platform that is extremely cost effective. There are a couple different models that we have for it, depending on which industry we're talking to. Like, say, if we're talking to licensed products industry, where they don't necessarily have a direct consumer presence, but it's a well-known brand, we're willing to offer this for free and take a percentage of the sale on the backside. For others where maybe potentially it isn't as well known, but they'd like to launch multiple storefronts without having to pay $250,000, $300,000 per store, we can do it in a scalable way using one instance of Shopify Plus, Flxpoint on the back side of it, routing out to all drop shippers and fulfillment centers or on-premise fulfillment centers that the brands might own. Each of these storefronts is fully customizable, headless, fully brandable, only showing that brand's products. But again, it's using one Shopify instance, which keeps it very cost-effective and efficient. So we rolled that out. We talked to a bunch of folks at Shop Talk, a lot of interest, and it looks like we'll probably be launching the first of the licensed brand products, well-known licensed product, probably this year on the platform, and hoping to have at least 4 or 5 more brands on it by the end of the year.
And it sounds like it's like you said, it's a framework. It's leveraging Shopify Plus Flxpoint to be an end-to-end kind of, almost like you said, repeatable, templated way to kind of serve the supply, all right from the supply chain up to the listing side and the marketing stack built on Shopify Plus, but just kind of like an interconnected Flxpoint, Shopify Plus end-to-end solution that you guys are familiar and you're experts in both platforms. So you can say, we're leveraging these two very flexible platforms. One specializes in fulfillment, integration, drop ship, distribute inventory. One is, the leader in commerce in general, commerce platforms. those combined plus our expertise is this like quick, easy way to go to market, specifically around multi-store. Is that what I'm understanding as far as like multi-storefront, multiple fulfillment, kind of multi-source, multi-channel? Is that kind of how we should think about this?
Yeah, I think that's the sweet spot. But we know that Shopify at some point is going to come out with a solution for multi-tenant. It's been on their roadmap for a long time. So this product, isn't just the solution for multi-tenant. We can do a single store with multiple sources of inventory. We can do a single store with one source of inventory. And to add on top of it, I don't think I mentioned it, we also have merchant of record, seller of record capabilities. We can do taxes, payments, and we can do fulfillment and customer service on top of that as well. So it really is truly an end-to-end product, but it also can be chunked out depending on the needs of the business.
Very cool. And you guys, I know you talked about, you went to Shop Talk. It was kind of like, that was the first time you were kind of pitching it, meeting with some partners. Give us a quick take. I couldn't make it. I know I wanted to meet with you guys. I had spring break with my daughter, and I missed it this year. So I would love to kind of hear your guys' take, your view on it, and give everyone a quick rundown.
Sure. Yeah, you had more important things to deal with, definitely. Well, I've been to, I think this is my third or fourth Shop Talk, so I have a good amount to compare it with when we talk about previous years, but it's Vlad's first, since it's his first entry into the commerce realm, coming from a software development background. So, interested to hear what you think, Vlad, and then I can add on top of that.
Yeah, it was. I don't really know what I expected kind of walking into it, but definitely not what I ended up seeing. Put it that way.
Okay, that would love. So yeah, let's dig in.
I think on an enterprise level, there's obviously a lot of interesting stuff happening in the AI space. And when I say enterprise, I mean big tech. Google is working on some really interesting solutions for the commerce space, which I think will have tremendous potential. And I was pretty blown away by that. The big companies like Procter and Gamble and Amazon and Walmart are definitely playing on the cutting edge of AI and technology. What was underwhelming to me personally was sort of like the lack of innovation in the lower market, beneath those big tech companies.
Yeah.
It just felt pretty stagnant. And then what was really overwhelming was the amount of consolidation that seems to be happening in the commerce space right now. Specifically, on the agency side, seems like there's a few groups that are forming that are looking to kind of like absorb the market, and I think it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out for them, and then how that in return will play out for their customers and the brands, the people that they work with. So that's kind of like my high level take on Shop Talk 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my take very similar to Vlad's. I posted on LinkedIn right afterwards that it really seemed like there was a lot of consolidation going on, but it wasn't being talked about. It's a little bit more, let's talk about AI and ML, and nobody's really implementing it very well at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then there's this whole layer of consolidation that's going on in the background that only a few people seem to be talking about. So I think it's going to be an interesting couple of years for e-commerce in general, especially on the direct-to-consumer side of it. I think B2B still has massive opportunity for growth, but I think that there's definitely consolidation going on the direct-to-consumer agency side of the business. Of the industry.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's a couple of things. So the year before, when I was there, aggregators were still a big thing, and those have kind of not as much been a we saw like Thrasio and those guys kind of like running some financial issues and things like that, and that was kind of the big theme across Prosper and Shop Talk, right? We saw a lot of those, and And AI was not nearly as big. It was starting to slowly kind of get going, but it wasn't like what I imagine when I hear from you guys, like everyone had to check the box, the AI box. And it's like, if I'm going to Shop Talk, I need to talk about our AI feature we just added or how we're doubling down on AI. I saw that a little bit at the AWS reInvent. I went with my CTO to that. And so you'd imagine, but I could imagine the same thing was similar to, it happened at Shop Talk. And it's funny to see, like, I hope we don't get too distracted with like this shiny AI thing and not focus on like the actual practical problems that we have in front of us, right? And you know, people have come to us and said like, "What you guys have you thought about putting AI in?" And it's like, you know, there's definitely some applications, but you also don't know in the stack who's going to solve that problem with AI, like categorization, product description, enhancement, things like that. It's like, should we really be the one to solve that, or is, you know, Shopify's already kind of has that. You know, one step upstream from us, and so does BigCommerce. So it'll be really interesting to see what true value, at least in the next 1 to 2, 3 years, really gets delivered via AI. I'm sure there'll be a ton of value, let's say 5, 6 years from now, as people really start figuring it out. But it just seems like, you know, everyone's advertising. It's all this shiny banners and quick, you know, demos. But then when you actually get into the practical application of it, I personally haven't seen it, and I try to use it as much as possible. I made salsa. I asked ChatGPT like how to make the best possible salsa for like authentic Mexican salsa, and it turned out great. So it's worked for me there, but that's probably that's the only spot I've really ingrained it in my day to day, and I try as much as possible. So I don't know. I'm curious. I know we didn't really kind of talk about this, but like. AI in general, what's your guys' take? Have you seen any good practical applications? What are you bullish on? You know, I'm sure you get clients are asking you, so I'd love to kind of maybe pivot and kind of go off the rails here a little bit and talk a little bit about AI.
Yeah. Well, first of all, AI is almost becoming like a logo that companies just like slap next to their own logo to make it seem like they're in the forefront of things. And to your point, it almost seems like the customer is getting lost in the mix. Like companies aren't as focused on serving the customers in the best way possible. And I just think that's the phase that we're currently at in the hype cycle. You know, I think we're at a peak right now. I think we'll see a downturn, and I think then we'll probably get on that rocket ship that'll take us, you know, into the next phase. But yeah, I mean, from our perspective, you know, we've been tooling around with AI applications and AI features for the past year and a half. We've implemented, you know, several AI features with some of our clients already, but our focus has been more on the data and analytics side, predictive analytics specifically. You know, in working with, you know, insurance companies and healthcare companies specifically, where data is so important. And of course it's important in e-commerce as well, but I think it plays a totally different role within those two industries. We're just realizing how behind companies are when it comes to having clean and structured data sets and data warehouses. And so that's where we're seeing the real opportunity with this whole AI hype, is actually helping companies get into a state where they're ready, you know, for true AI implementations. And of course, you've got a bunch of Gen AI tools that, you know, you can use as sidekicks and pilots on the side that don't require full integration. But, you know, for like the really complex AI integrations and AI applications that will really, you know, change the future of businesses, companies will have to, you know, take their data very serious. So yeah, the opportunity we're seeing is helping companies, you know, structure unstructured data. We've been doing that, you know, for the past year and a half, like I said. And, you know, kind of going back to the product topic, you know, one other product that we're currently working on here at Compose is a predictive analytics platform to help our customers structure unstructured data and then, you know, really leverage machine learning algorithms more so than just, you know, AI to make the data smart and, you know, help them get into the future. I mean, our point of view is that, you know, for the past 20 plus years, companies have been trying to become, you know, technology companies. We believe the next phase is that companies will work on becoming data companies. And so,
yeah, well, that's where the true value really comes from, right? If you have proprietary data based on what you're doing, you know, that's not available to the public, if you can take that and leverage it for information, and leverage it really to make better decisions or to drive value to your customers, right? Like that is kind of what you're talking about, like getting your data in a way that it can be read by, whether it's a large language model or just machine learning in general. That's the key, right? So it sounds like you guys are helping out in that aspect.
Yeah, it's especially important in healthcare. You've got all these different sources, it's data sources, and depending on what the quality of that data source is,
Yep.
you can make decisions on it, or it's going to break the process. And in the healthcare industry, you've got data coming in from like images from a phone, from X-rays, from
Yep.
handwritten notes, to PDFs. PDFs are huge in the healthcare industry, and if that data isn't able to be structured in a way where you can look across it and make decisions on it, then you're not serving your patients. And that's the way the healthcare industry has typically worked over the course of history. It's just all this data gets written down and lost. And to be able to take that data and put it into a structured database and be able to make decisions on it in real time is super important, powerful. It's going to change the way that the healthcare industry operates.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know, so we started working together, obviously we're big data people as well. We move data from, we say left to right or right to left, right? Like importing inventory and product details all the way up and pushing up to sales channels like Shopify and Amazon, or pulling down orders and sending, orders to drop shippers and pulling tracking. So curious if you can kind of give us a quick rundown on how you kind of came across Flxpoint and kind of how you guys leverage us today.
Yeah. Glad we came across you because, we've worked with some of your competitors over the course of the past 15 years. And when we started to go down market to SMBs and even startups, and these organizations required something like Flxpoint, they were quickly priced out. We're talking orders of magnitude more cost to the brand if they went with one of your competitors. So over the course of, I think, 3 previous projects, we worked with you, and we had found you through doing some due diligence on the first project. When we found you, we kind of were like, there's no way that you all will be able to do the same thing that your competitors are doing at the price that you're offering it at. And quickly realized that wasn't the case. The platform's super powerful. Your team is incredibly knowledgeable. They're able to jump in, especially with the first implementation, to help us to work through it. But as we found, once we were in there and operating within the platform, super intuitive, easy to use. It's a little overwhelming at first, but it's for the reasons that you just mentioned. All of that data flowing back and forth. So when we get approached by small and medium-sized businesses, new brands, brands that have been around for a while but haven't done e-commerce, and they have all of these different sources of inventory, they don't know what to do. There's no multi-inventory location for dummies book out there. Right. When you're trying to do direct consumer or you're trying to do B2B. So it's powerful for us because we have this stack ready to go at any moment. Whereas, I just remember trying to find you guys for the first time and having a real difficult time understanding how I was going to be able to offer this solution in a cost-effective way. And so that's how we came across you all through that first project. We've been working with you since, and it's been great. We haven't had any issues at all. We've hit our targets as far as time to launch with each project, and we've been able to scale laterally and add as many sources as needed, as many storefronts, marketplaces, and I think that there's even some thoughts that we've had around how we can utilize your solution to do some different things in the industry as we start to productize things and create different thought experiments. It's been interesting to see the power of your platform and how we can utilize it moving forward.
No, that's great. I mean, my favorite part of that was launching on time and hitting deadlines, because we all know in technology projects, I've heard people say just take the deadline, take the launch date and times it by 3, right? Like, because you never know what's going to happen. And without maybe talking about specific customers or whatever, customer names, do you mind kind of just digging in on like what does that project look like? What are you doing? How are you leveraging Flxpoint? Like, what does a project look like? You got to connect. Is it connecting vendors? Is it getting product data in? Is it? If you can walk us through like what a project is, that'd be helpful, I think, for the audience to know.
Sure.
How you guys approach those.
Yeah, just to give you the latest example, the client came to us with needing a multi-tenant solution that had multiple sources of inventory, and that's kind of where it started.
Real quick, sorry, Dan, not to interrupt, but when you say multi-tenant, can you define that? Because I know there's a multi-tenant in the server world, in the commerce world. Do you mind defining that for us?
Yeah, commerce world, multi-tenant, meaning you can have multiple storefronts using one instance of the commerce platform. So they can be different brands, different companies on the same commerce instance without having to launch adjacent commerce implementations for each of those brands. So it's an efficiency play. And Shopify isn't the best at it, but through Headless and through your platform, we're able to offer it. So they come to us looking for this setup essentially. And so we go through a full discovery phase where at the end of it, we've essentially created the roadmap of what the stack would look like. We validated it. We obviously, in this case, we had meetings with you all to validate the requirements. And then coming out of that, it's all documentation and project planning. But then moving into the integration work, we're taking that commerce platform, we're attaching it to Flxpoint. We're then attaching Flxpoint to all the disparate fulfillment centers, vendors, even Shopify instances in some cases where one of their vendors might run a Shopify store. We're connecting directly to that Shopify store through Flxpoint. So the orders coming through our Shopify instance through Flxpoint into Shopify, getting fulfilled, and the communications are coming back up to ours and going out to the consumer. So that's, it sounds like magic, but for your platform, it's super simple, easy integration. I'm able to do it myself. A lot of the stuff that we need to do with Flxpoint, I'm able to jump in and do myself. I'm not a developer, business user, so that's super helpful. And then, pulling in inventory levels, images, product descriptions from all those different distribution centers, pulling them into your platform, working to make sure that they're all harmonized within that platform, and then sending them up to multiple instances of Shopify, marketplaces, and wherever else those products need to sit, and including social. And then all those orders are coming through from those different front ends, being collected in one Shopify instance, being sent into Flxpoint, and then being sent out for distribution. So that's kind of like a high level of how we implemented Flxpoint recently. But that stack we whiteboarded that out on day one of the discussions with the client, and it didn't change. So that's how we figured out this is a fully repeatable stack. It's not conceptual. It's like, all right, we can walk into a meeting and say, here's the stack, it works, and you can use it, without breaking the bank.
Right. It's just nodes from there, right? I mean, whether it's Shopify or another platform, whether it's distribution center or 3PL versus a drop shipper versus your own warehouse, they're all just nodes. At the end of the day, you can plug and play based on the customer requirements. Yeah,
and I should clarify, we don't just do Shopify. So in this case, Flxpoint connects to Shopify, but it can connect to any commerce platform, as you know. We just happen to use Shopify more often, but we can use Adobe Commerce Cloud, we can use Salesforce Commerce Cloud, BigCommerce, whatever it might be, whatever the needs of the client are.
Awesome, cool. Well, I'm just curious. You guys are in the space, been in the space, have a lot of great clients, very knowledgeable. What are you excited for this year? I know you got the repeatable kind of framework you're putting in place, but just to kind of give us an idea of what you guys are excited on, what you're excited about, what you're working on, anything we didn't touch on maybe that we should have. Love to kind of just open it up.
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing is just the continuous growth of Compose. We're still a relatively young company. Dan and I, as the co-founders and managing partners, are still, in the weeds on projects and delivery and certain things that, we're getting out of slowly. But I think outside of the growth and, the company growth and the team growth, the thing that we're definitely most excited about is, the productization of a portion of Compose through that commerce methodology that we touched on earlier, and then that predictive analytics platform that we're looking to go to market with probably towards the end of Q3, beginning of Q4 of this year. We see a pretty big opportunity there, especially within that SMB sector. Like I said earlier, we're not looking to touch enterprise, and really just help our clients grow, help them mature, as technology companies today, and then as data companies in the future, and enjoy their successes. That's what we're most proud of as a company, for sure.
Nice. Anything else, Dan, that we didn't touch on before we wrap up?
For me, with commerce being the majority of my background, I'm excited about more and more opportunities in the other sectors, healthcare and insurance. We're doing, as you can imagine, a ton of compliance work on our side, it's tough, but it's exciting, and at the end of the day, it sets us apart as an organization. So it's fun to get outside of commerce and see how other types of businesses operate outside, and start to scale that side of the business even more.
Very cool. And it's CMPSE.com, right? That's where we can check out all the different your portfolio, and I see the site here, everything you got. So Compose, CMPSE.com. Vlad, Dan, appreciate the partnership we've had for this time now, and obviously you guys coming on the podcast. So thanks again for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Travis. Appreciate it. Take care.